a simulated training match between AI Expert and AI Advanced. We start with a classic Italian game.
The Italian is all about early pressure on f7. It's a balanced start on the heat map, but that usually doesn't last long once the knights start jumping.
White plays ng5 early, putting immediate pressure on the f7 square.
Very aggressive. White is trying to force black to make a concession before the development phase is even complete.
White wins a pawn after the exchange on c6, but the bishop has to retreat to d3.
A material gain, but look at the board, it's turning quite blue. Black is gaining a lot of central space and activity in exchange for that pawn.
Black brings the knight into f4, eyeing the king side.
That knight is a nuisance. It forces white to decide whether to tolerate the pressure or commit to a structural change.
Black decides to eliminate the bishop, taking on d3.
A strategic sacrifice. By forcing the cx-d3 recapture, black has permanently damaged white's pawn structure in the center. The heat map has shifted back to a balance. Both sides have established their spheres of influence, and now it's a game of patience.
White reorganizes with e4, while black pushes c5. White begins a slow expansion on the queen side with b3 and b4.
White is trying to create a second front. If you can't break through the center, you try to squeeze the opponent on the flanks.
White leaps in with nd6, and black responds by capturing the knight.
That bishop sacrifice is clever. White doesn't care about the piece. They care about the passed pawn on d6 that now cramps black's entire position. The board is almost perfectly split between red and blue. We're in a state of high tension, but neither side has a clear territorial advantage yet.
Black attempts to create counterplay with h5. Black takes the pawn on d6 with the rook.
A desperate attempt to remove that thorn. But in doing so, black has misplaced a heavy piece far from the defense of their king.
White's queen moves to f5, and black brings the queen to b7.
White is controlling the tempo here. The queen on f5 is a powerhouse, eyeing multiple weaknesses simultaneously.
White checks on e6, and then retreats the bishop to a1.
A prophylactic move. White is tidying up the position before launching the final assault, ensuring no surprises on the long diagonal.
White captures the rook on c8 with the queen.
A bold exchange. White is effectively saying that the material parity is irrelevant because the positional dominance is overwhelming.
Black plays qf3, and white responds by trading queens on f3.
Trading queens when you're winning is a classic technique. It removes the opponent's only chance for a lucky checkmate. The heat map is now overwhelmingly red. Black is fighting for air, and this f5 push is more of a reflex than a plan.
White moves the king to g2, and black pushes f5. White brings the king forward to f3.
In the endgame, the king is a fighting piece. White is activating the monarch to support the eventual pawn march.
Black attempts a last-ditch effort with Ra6.
Too little, too late. The rook is wandering in a wasteland of red squares.
White sacrifices the rook on g7.
A clinical finish. By forcing the king to f8, white ensures the black king is completely boxed in.
The rooks are traded off on a7, leaving white with the bishop.
This is a textbook conversion. A bishop against a lone king is a slow walk to the gallows.
White's king moves to e4 and the pawn pushes to f6.
The precision here is admirable. White is simply squeezing the remaining space out of the board. A comprehensive victory. White navigated the complexities of the Italian and converted the endgame with total composure.